Meta AI is the personal AI to help you with whatever you need. Plus, it meets you where you are. Not only is Meta AI now an app, but it's also on the apps you already know and love: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Plus the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. It's easy to access wherever you are. So whether you're talking or texting, Meta AI is convenient to use throughout your day. Experience our newest AI that's tailored to you by downloading the Meta AI app. Try the Meta AI app today on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. And in today's episode, I need to tell a backstory before I get into the more so, it ain't my story, but it's another person's story. I'm just overall telling it to you guys to let y'all know my opinion on it. But anyways, I feel like I need to give you guys a little bit of a backstory before I lead into today's story. You know, this did happen a few days ago. And the thing is this: if I wasn't watching the news, I probably wouldn't even have heard who it was, or I wouldn't have known. But anyways, some time ago, I was scrolling through TikTok and I came across these two girls that were it was like their podcast, where they, I think, from what they said, they read books on the podcast and then they just is it a stream or is it a podcast? I think it might be a stream. I don't know. But regardless, there's these two friends where they got their content creating business going on, right? So anyways, one day I'm scrolling through TikTok. Two girls catch my attention. I need to see what this TikTok is about. Because sometimes, you just be scrolling and you try to get some answers okay, what video is this? What am I watching? So anyways, the one girl, she starts hyping up her friend with her dancing. I'm not, because I feel like one day they may hear this this podcast episode, and to the friend that was dancing, to Franny, that's her name. I'm not criticizing your dancing skills. My dancing skills, it's like a step beneath, so that's not what this is about. All right, I feel like I'm digging myself a hole here, and I'm gonna mess around and say something that I'm gonna have to apologize for in the long run. I'm not trying to do that, so we gonna move on. But anyways, so Franny was dancing. Her friend Nezza was hyping her up, and the video was funny. I ended up becoming a fan, and I was like, there was at a point in time where I was just scrolling through and just watching their TikToks and stuff. And I will always go back to watching that TikTok video, the one that, because that was the first video I ever seen. I like doing that. I like watching content creators, the videos that got me involved with their content, So anyways, from that point on, I was a fan, constantly watching their videos. I wouldn't say I watched their videos on the regular, but I was watching their videos for a little bit. So anyways, a few days ago, there's this situation where a girl was performing the National Anthem. I think the Dodgers game or something like that. It was some game that was going on. But anyways, she performs the National Anthem, but she changes it up. She performs it in Spanish. Of course, that's going to upset the middle-aged white men, because they gotta stick to tradition and all that stuff. I'm gonna talk on the traditional, that conversation in a moment. But anyways, so she performs the national anthem in Spanish, and it goes the world goes into it. Well, I ain't gonna say the world, more so the elderly white men. They go into an uproar. Oh my goodness, you would have thought that this woman went out in the middle of that field and said, "I hate America." That's the part that trips me out, because even before knowing who the woman was, fam, I was like, it's one of those things where if they hadn't told me how an audience had responded to it, I would have been like, oh, okay, that's cool. My thing is this, because that's something about me in foreign languages. It's if I don't know what's being said or discussed, I'm like, then fam, I'm like, you're going to have to explain it to me. But we know what she's saying. We know what she's discussing. She is singing the national anthem. She's just singing it in Spanish. That's it. That's all that she's doing. Or she's singing the Spanish national anthem. I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what's being said or discussed. I'm assuming that she's singing the national anthem. What we all know, she's just changing up the language. So anyways, country goes into an uproar. Well, more so the racist side of the country. And that's the thing. Anybody that's trying to say like, oh, we're not being racist, you're being racist. The thing is this: there is nothing that you can say to me to change my mind. You're being racist. You're getting on this girl, and it ain't no different than if it's like with movies where they're all like, oh, we're replacing this actor that was originally white with a black actor or a Hispanic actor. You guys have that same feeling running through your body. Just like how you did with this woman that was performing the national anthem in Spanish. But so anyways, I heard that story. I was like, dang, that's messed up. She's getting all this hate for that and stuff. I didn't know who it was. Up until the other day, fast forward a few days, or maybe like 2-3 days, or probably about like 2 days later, I'm watching TV. I'm watching the news. They talking on all these different things, and then they start talking on that. So they show her performing and stuff. Still didn't see her face. All of a sudden, they do like kind of like of a zoom in of her face, and then they cut to a TikTok of her talking about this situation. That's when I had seen that it was Nezza from this podcast. Hold on for a second. I felt like I need to go to TikTok and see what the name of their because they have their account Frezza, and then I think so. Franny and Nezza. Okay, so that's their Twitch channel, and then they have a YouTube channel called Frezza. So anyways, but that's when I seen that it was her. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, time out, flag on the play, 10-yard penalty. We got, well, since it was baseball terms, I'm like, no, we gotta, what do they do? I don't watch baseball like that. I don't know what they do because they don't yell out no flag on the play and stuff. So that's whatever they do baseball terms, when they need to like rewind something back, that's what we gonna have to do here. So I just don't know the terminology for it. But anyways, I seen that it was her. So of course, like I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm trying to like process this, and I'm like, it was her this whole time. Like I'm okay. I'm trying to collect my thoughts. Why is she so? And the thing is this, I'm like, and I feel bad because I'm like, it could have been anybody, and I should have like that same feeling if it would have been anybody. But I'm like, this is somebody that I'm a fan of. So I'm seeing this hatred that a person, if you guys know me, I'm going to speak out about that type of stuff. That's one thing that I've never done is hold my tongue on somebody that I'm a fan of. So when I see somebody that I'm a fan of getting hated on, getting harassed, getting bullied, all these other different things, I'm going to step in. I'm going to talk about that. And I do plan on, so that's what I actually have planned, is that I am going to react to her video, and pretty much I am going to take parts of what I said in this podcast, and I'm going to say it in that video, and I'm probably going to add some things if I can think of some new things, but I'm trying to figure it out, like, what was the problem? Like, overall, though, I feel like that regardless of me knowing her and me not knowing her, what was the problem? Because that's the one thing that I just, and it brings me back. I remember the one time when I was in jury duty, and there was this old white man. he sits next to me, and I don't know, maybe he was trying to get me to like crash out on him or something. He's all like, oh, let me sit next to this black guy, start talking about kneeling during the national anthem, and he'll probably get mad and swing on me. It's one of those things where I'm like, it takes a lot to make me upset. You having your own opinion on something, that's not going to make me upset. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to see eye to eye. You go your way, I'm going to go my way. Now, if you start following me and you're trying to force me to think along the lines like you, then it's going to be a problem. But overall, though, yeah, me and this guy, we sitting down in jury duty. So I sit down. I think, what was I? Was I eating my ice cream or? I can't remember. I can't remember if I was eating my ice cream or not. But anyways, I remember at some point in time in the 2 days I was doing jury duty, I had me some ice cream. I just don't know if it was at that exact moment. But anyways, he sits next to me. We get to talking. Then he starts talking about how he didn't like that people was kneeling during the national anthem. And I think I did say that to him. I'm like, I think they're doing it because it's a protest. It's a form of a protest. Like there's stuff going on in the world to where they feel that we have this spotlight to where we can do something to protest, against what's going on in the world and stuff. And if, doing it during Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday night football, they got to do what they got to do and stuff. It ain't no different than any other protest that's, going on in the world. It's just that we're getting more of a spotlight if we do it right here and right now. he wasn't seeing that. You know, he wasn't hearing that. He had his mind made up. So it's one of those things where I'm like, all right, well, you know what? You have your opinion on the matter. I have my opinion on the matter. We ain't gonna change each other's opinion. Let's go our separate ways. You go to your court case. I'm gonna go to my court case, you know? So anyways, but it reminded me of that. Like this situation with Nezza performing the national anthem in Spanish, it reminded me of that moment. And I'm trying to think to myself, why is it a problem if she's performing the national anthem in Spanish? And I'm like, that's it. I feel like that's not even a hard-hitting question. I'm like, I guess more so the hard-hitting question, because I was thinking of some questions earlier, prior before I did this podcast episode, is that how is this affecting your day-to-day life that she's performing the national anthem? Are you there for the national anthem, or are you there to see I think it was a Dodgers game, or are you there to see the Dodgers play? Because that's one thing about it. She could go out there and do a break dance of the national anthem. I did not come here for that. I came here for a Dodgers game. It really trips me out, like how patriotic people are, but let it be like some real country problems. Oh, these guys are missing. They're gone. They're all like, oh, we can't do or say anything about that. Or they're going to show support from a distance. But it's like, let this country, I guarantee and I promise you, there is going to be at least one person within that crowd of people that was hating on Nezza for performing this national anthem in Spanish. You ask them, will you serve this country if World War III starts? I guarantee and I promise you they're going to be like, well, I mean, I kind of have this gimpy leg here. I can't be really running in the battle like that. Say no more. That's all that I needed to hear. That is all that I needed to hear. So explain to me, all right? If you're going to be so patriotic to run to social media and go after Nezza for singing the national anthem in Spanish, then you're patriotic to serve this country, right? See what I mean? It's like people will have their minds made up about this country so much, and it's like you got to ask yourself that question: what has this country ever done for you? You know, it's like I know people are going to probably be all like, bro, how can you talk about your country like that? I'm like, fam, if we go back some years, if we go back like hundreds of years, we change some little bits and pieces of history, I never would have been in this country. I would have been somewhere over in, I think when my uncle, he did a ancestry test thing, and it was like my family, I think they originated in Nigeria. I would have been in Nigeria somewhere doing, with a Nigerian accent doing a podcast episode. That's where I would have been if we would have changed up history. But because the stuff that happened hundreds of years ago, I'm here. So that's why it's one of those things where I'm like, you know, I love my country, but I don't love it like that. I love my country more so of what it has brought to the table for me. You know, like I done met some amazing people throughout my life. I got amazing opportunities. What else has happened to me throughout this country? You know, like I've really have gotten a chance to, you know, see like this country's, you know, beautiful parts and stuff from the states that I've been to. So yes, in a way, I do like my country, but I don't like it in a way where I gotta put somebody else down because they want to do something in their fashion. Like that's the part that trips me out, is that when you take everybody in this country, everybody is different. Everybody is different. Even that doppelganger that exists somewhere in this country, they're different from me. They got their things going on. They got their stuff that they got going on, all that. I'm doing my thing. Just like the person next to me, they're doing their thing. But at the end of the day, we should not be putting down people for doing whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, if it ain't hurting us, we don't need to be worried about it. We don't need to be worried. And it's crazy how it's like you'll see more people go after her, but you don't see nobody going after Trump and the things that he says and does to the people of this country. I'm saying, like, he literally, January 6th, 2021, he had people outside the Capitol chanting, "Hang Pence, hang Pence." This is somebody that was literally side by side with him. There ain't nothing wrong with that. But, because a woman starts off the national anthem with "Hola," or I don't know how she started off. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you guys. I haven't even seen the performance. I'm curious about the performance though. But at the end of the day, I guarantee and I promise you, how I felt before I watched her performance is going to be I'm gonna have the same exact feeling after I watch her performance. I should do that. I should react to her performance. I might not know what she's saying because I don't speak Spanish, but at the end of the day, my thing is this. I knew that too. I knew that she was a singer because I remember when after following them and then seeing what she was about, I was like, oh, she sings too. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know, besides that's somebody, I'm like, they are a multi-talented person. And I'm like, just to even say that too, I'm like, for you to sing, because I think that's she did sing the national anthem. I'm like, from what I've read, she did sing the national anthem in Spanish. And I'm like, for you to do that, I'm like, that's talent right there. Do you see? And my thing is this, right? Do you see any of those people that's going after her? Do you see them out there singing the national anthem? No, because you guys aren't singers. You don't have no singing voices. But and that's the thing too. I would like even just sit down and thinking about this. I'm like going back to that conversation is how does this affect your day-to-day life? Like, is this prevent you from feeding your kids? Is this prevent you from putting clothes on your back? Is this prevent you from buying a house? Is this preventing you from getting gas for your car or, making the money to charge up your electric car? I'm trying to think of some other, country problems that we're having right now. I'm trying to think of something. I don't know. I can't, I don't know, maybe getting a job or something. But my thing is this. Her performing the Spanish the national anthem in Spanish, it's not going to change your day-to-day lives. So please explain to me what is the reason for hating on this woman and she ain't did absolutely nothing to you. That's the part that be tripping me out about people is that they build up all this hatred in them for somebody that ain't did nothing to them. That's the part where I'm like, fam, please explain. How does her singing the national anthem in Spanish affect your day-to-day life? Because if it had, you had to call out the next day. Oh, she got me so upset for singing in Spanish. Like, oh, my question is do you know how much, or how many Spanish songs exist? Just not even with Spanish songs. Do you know how many songs in this world that exist in different languages? And I'm like, all of a sudden now where it's like, oh, it's this quote unquote patriotic moment. Like, it trips me out, man, seeing how people, they be so for the country and stuff. And it's like, I guarantee and I promise you, you put them in like one of the country's most biggest problems. You put them in front of it and they have to solve this problem. They ain't gonna solve it. They're not gonna solve it at all. This situation, it reminds me of this teacher back when I was, it was like when I did that podcast episode, Teachers Are Too Serious. And I was talking about that one teacher in my high school where she was literally forcing kids, like she was telling kids to say, like she wasn't like grabbing them and being like, no, you're gonna stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff. But no, like she would be like in the middle of class, like getting on us for not standing up for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm thinking to myself, and and it's funny because I just remember this from that Everybody Hates Chris Out of All shows. But no, he said it better. Chris said it better than everybody. Where like when you're saying the Pledge of Allegiance, it's like, fam, it's a pledge. You only got to pledge one time. Why do I got to pledge every day? I think he didn't say it like word for word like that, but you overall know what I mean though. But it's like, nah, seriously. Why is it so big of a deal? And it's like, and I guarantee and I promise you, if we would have put a hard hat or armored helmet, some armor, give this teacher an assault rifle and be like, nah, you gotta go fight, these countries that got beef with us. You gotta serve and protect. You were so with us for saying the Pledge of Allegiance. It's like, now it's time for you to serve and protect. You gotta serve and protect this country. That teacher, I know she wouldn't have served and protect this country because a kid spinning a basketball on his finger made her dizzy. So all of a sudden, I'm supposed to trust this teacher with my life on preserving and I guarantee and I promise you, this country is going to be whoever goes after us within a couple of days. Not even a couple of days, fam. The funny thing is, all they got to do is just start spinning a basketball on their finger. Yeah, let's say North Korea invades the country. All Kim Jong-un got to do is spin a basketball on his finger. That teacher, she's like, oh, I surrender. So I'm supposed to, the lady that got dizziness problems with a basketball spinning on her finger, she's supposed to be teaching me about the Pledge of Allegiance and why we got to pledge every day and be all patriotic and all this other. And it's stuff like that where I'm like, man, there's like parts of this country that I do like, but then there's other parts of this country where I'm like, it is so annoying. I'm like, it doesn't just how people operate with people like, having it where immigrants, if they feel that they have a better chance here than the country that they came from, so be it. If somebody wants to sing the national anthem in Spanish, so be it. I'm trying to think, if somebody doesn't want to vote for Trump, then so be it. But you have it where there are people in this world where it's like, if they got their mind made up on something, you have to match the same thought process that they do. You're no longer allowed to think along the lines that you want to think. You got to think along the lines of a Trump supporter or Trump himself. I can't, it's one of those things where I'm like, I can't support stuff like that. I can't support people, not being free. I can't support people where it's like they're not allowed to be themselves, do what they want to do, dress how they want to dress, sing what they want to sing, and all this other stuff. It's things like that where I'm like, how is this country supposed to be the promised land, this free country and all this stuff, yet it cost us literally our lives just to be who we want to be. So that's why I'm like, man, you know what? To Nezza and to any other singer, anybody out here that that's in this country, you do what you want to do. As long as it's not illegal, you do what you want to do. Because that's that too. I'm like, it ain't illegal to sing the national anthem in Spanish. She ain't breaking no crime. She ain't killing nobody. So again, how is this a problem? How is this one of those how is it one of those country problems to where we need to all these other things, have it where our country is trillions of dollars in debt, but this woman singing the national anthem in Spanish, so that needs to be our main priority right now. There's some people, I'm telling you, man, it's like, Trump, he really brought out the idiots of this country. Like, he really made people, where we get a chance to see the uneducated of this country. It's like, and they could say some stuff. Oh, I graduated from school. I went to college. But have you learned any? The thing is this, you probably have learned some things from school and college and all that stuff. You're a smart individual. You have a 4.0 GPA. You got degrees and diplomas and all that stuff from the schools that you went to, but you literally know nothing. It's one of those things where it's like you have more educational, skills and smarts and stuff than just regular human, just normal, just skills, like just something that can, because my thing is this, if you're a busy person, you ain't got time to be sitting around. That's why I was like, I wasn't even really feeding into this whole situation, because I'm like, fam, I got my own stuff to be worried about. It's like, there's things in my life that I'm trying to better. I do not have time to be sitting around worried about somebody singing the national anthem in Spanish. And then once I'm seeing all this, the hate that this girl, I'm like, fam, what? Like, what is going on right now? It's like World War III is about to start. Like, there are people that are mad at us right now. This is where we're at. That's why I'm like, the thing is this, because people, they always I'll sit down and talk about people where it's like, what countries, if they attacked America, I think these countries are seeing how we operate, and they're like, fam, they got their priorities all wrong. Like, they need, America needs counseling. The United States, they got some issues, bro. Like, they need some anger management. Like, they need some anxiety management. They need just something to help them, because I don't want to start a war with that country. That country is crazy, so it's like, yeah, we might threaten them and try to scare them and snap them back into reality, but we know that they ain't gonna do no real work or something. Like, we just gonna say that to just get them to leave us alone. But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, and I guess it just ended off on this. It's like, yeah, there's stuff that we need to be worried about. Somebody singing the national anthem in Spanish, that's something that we don't need to be worried about. That's something that doesn't need to be the major priority in our lives. So that's why I'm like, to the Trump supporters, because it was Trump supporters. You don't see nobody Barack Obama supporters. Yeah, because I'm like, where's his opinion on this matter? What was Joe Biden's opinion on this matter? What was Kamala Harris's opinion on this matter? Even George Bush, somebody that was that is a Republican. I think he still is a Republican. Hold on for a second. Let me see what George 41st. No, yeah, there we go. Dang, he was a president right after his dad. That's crazy. I didn't know that. Because, well, I guess, no, yeah, okay, because it was like Bill Clinton, and then before Bill Clinton was, okay, no, yeah, okay, it makes sense now, all right, it's all coming back to me, okay, but let's see, he's still a Republican, hold on for a second, let me, see, yeah, no, yeah, he is still a Republican, okay, but what's his opinion on it? You know what, actually, because I'm like, does he have social media and all that stuff? I imagine he probably do, but yeah, let's just see. Okay, Instagram. Let's open up his Facebook. Does he have a Twitter account? I don't think he does. But yeah, let's just see what he got going on Instagram. Let's see the last thing that he posted. Last thing he posted was on May 26th. Where he is honoring those who've given their lives in service of our nation at the Kennebunkport, I think that's how you say that word, Memorial Day Parade. Laura and I wish our fellow citizens a safe and happy Memorial Day. So that's where his mind is at. You know, it's crazy how George Bush Jr., he was the last good Republican president, because yeah, the one that we have in office now, that's one thing that I have said, is that I feel that Trump is trying to have it where the Republican Party, it's not taken seriously anymore. Like, I think he is trying his hardest, because it's like, what, he's only like 5-6 months in his presidency and stuff. I think he is trying to get it to the point where it's like the Republican Party is just abolished. Like, we don't listen to anything, because I guarantee and I promise you, if after his 4 years, and it's like it's gonna definitely be Democrat and whatever after that. But I feel like Republicans, they are going to have an extremely hard time of trying to build their party back up, because Trump is ruining it. Because I was going to talk just strictly about Nezza and her performance with the National Anthem, but no, just even talk on that real quick, because you know it's bad when his own supporters are saying like we no longer support Trump. Like, yeah, of course, you know, you're gonna have those ones that's just trying to rage bait people and stuff, because there will be those ones where they'll hear this podcast episode, they're gonna find something negative about it. They ain't gonna be able to just like, oh, okay, well, he said what he had to say about Trump. I know how I feel about Trump. I'm not going to engage with this. I'm not even going to sit there and listen to this. They would have stopped listening to this podcast episode, 4 or 5 minutes in the episode. But if you done made it this far and you already know what you plan on doing, see, that's what I mean. There are Trump supporters out there where they do not want other people to have their own opinion about Trump. We aren't allowed to have, and then that's the thing. They can crack jokes left and right about Joe Biden and him getting up there in age. They can say all these negative things about Barack Obama. They can make all these sexist jokes and comments about Kamala Harris. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Oh yeah, and threaten the life-ending situation. And you know what's crazy is that Mike Pence, he just recently came out and showed some support towards Trump for the whole bombing in Iran thing, and I'm like, do I need to remind you that my thing is this, if it wasn't for, because I think, he was at the Capitol. I think he left by helicopter. But overall, though, if it wasn't for the helicopter, if it wasn't for the Secret Service, whoever it was that helped you, fam, you wouldn't have been here right now. I feel like it definitely would have been one of those things where it's like Trump would have been in a courtroom trying to, you know, I guess like fight for his freedom and stuff because of your death, because of what he caused. He caused somebody to get killed. Like, fam, that could have been the conversation with your name. You could have had it to where your family was like, they're visiting you at your grave on your birthday saying, oh, it's been because what was that? That was back in 2021. There's like, oh, it's been 3 years since our lovely, because doesn't Mike Pence, I think he has kids, so it's like, oh, since our father, son, what else that he would like, brother, cousin, uncle, all these other different names that they're like, oh, since he hasn't been here with us anymore. Like, that could have been the conversation with your name. And you turn around and show. That's one thing I'll say about, I guess, like the politicians that that do publicly show their support towards Trump. It's either he's paying them off or he has some dirt on them. I truly do believe that. I don't believe that nobody just goes out of their way to support Trump unless they know that there's some sort of hidden agenda, something that can benefit them out of it. And that's the thing where I'm like, yeah, you have some Trump supporters out there that probably genuinely do support him, and they're not those toxic, like they've heard his political, or it's either that or whoever it was, because what was it? Yeah, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Those are only two people that have gone up against Trump. Or no, actually, who was it that Hillary Clinton too? And you got people out there where, yeah, they want to make all these disrespectful comments towards them, and it trips me out because I'm like, they've done nothing to you, and that's the thing where it's like, when whoever gets in the office next, because we know it ain't gonna be Trump, whoever gets in the office next, and most likely it is gonna be a Democrat. It's definitely gonna be a Democrat senator or whatever and stuff. It's going to be one of those. I'm like, look, anybody that comes at me and be all like, oh, they doing this, I'm like, I'm not hearing none of that. I'm not hearing nothing that you have to say about whoever the next president is. Because I'm like, especially if they're doing good for this country, making amends with all these other different countries, actually solving some problems, fixing the crap that Trump done put us through, I'm not hearing absolutely nothing from nobody. That's one thing about like Trump and his supporters, is that they feel like that it needs to be, because when I was born in 96. So the main presidents that I really had a chance to see, like especially in my younger years, was George Bush and Barack Obama. Now, I feel like, yes, that Barack Obama, he did have his support because this was going to be the first time in history that a black president, was in office and stuff. So, but that was the thing, though. Yeah, you seen where people were publicly supporting him, but they were doing it in a fashion to where it wasn't going to annoy people. One thing, and even with George Bush, it was like, I feel like that, yeah, you did hear some whispers, some conversations about George Bush and things, but when I sit down and I think of his time in office versus Trump's time in office, and both of them are Republicans, Bush wasn't this annoying. Even his supporters, I feel like that, and I don't know, maybe I was too young to understand. I don't remember Bush supporters being annoying. So, okay, so, yeah, moving on, then, like I said what I need to say about Obama. Joe Biden, his supporters, they weren't annoying. Kamala Harris, her supporters, they wasn't annoying. Trump supporters, I'll never forget the time where I was up at the store, and I'm trying to figure out, why is this traffic so backed up? It's on a part, where how this store is shaped. There's this road on the side of it where I'm like, this road usually isn't busy. What's going on? You get further up, you see these Trump supporters purposely slowing down traffic. All we have these flags, Trump flags, all surrounding the car and stuff, honking there. I don't know if it was people honking at them or they were the ones honking, but I'm like, why are they doing that? That's one thing that that's when it hit me that I'm like, Trump supporters are some of the most weirdest people out there. There's those quiet ones. There's those ones where it's like they support this man's political views, but I feel like those are them same ones where they're all like, I don't support Trump no more. So really, it's like you leave it up to the people that think that they're going to get something out of it, or they, I refuse to vote for a woman. I refuse to do, and I'm like, we got to stop living in this day and age where it's like, oh, if a woman is in charge or something, we got to talk against it. Oh, if a woman, and it's like, it really trips me out, man. It's one of those things where I'm all like, women ain't did nothing to nobody. I'm like, and it's crazy how it's like those that be sitting there talking crazy about, oh, women shouldn't be in charge. I'm like, who's that, besides your dad, who's that other parent that's, that had a part in your life? That's something where I feel like that needs to be discussed, where it's like, they be talking about that, and I'm all like, last I checked, a woman is in charge of, of the pregnancy stage. It's like she's carrying you for an odd number amount of months and stuff. Yeah, and about 9 months and things, there's nobody else that's in charge of that. A woman has to be in charge of that. So it be tripping me out, where people, they make some disrespectful comments towards women, but it's like, fam, other than your dad, who's that other parent in your life? I'm saying, it's like, it really be tripping me out when they be saying stuff like that, but yeah, it's like, and if there's ever a time where it's like a woman be saying stuff like, oh, a woman shouldn't be in charge and all this, I'm like, it's one of those things I'm all like, yeah, if that's how you feel, that's how I'm going to end off this podcast episode. However you feel feel that way, all right? But just understand that there are going to be people that are going to feel differently. So, and if you have a problem with that, then I'm like, fam, that is how this world is. We gonna feel a certain way than people in Canada. Canadian people are gonna feel a certain way than people in Iraq. They gonna feel a certain way than people in Africa. Africa is gonna feel a certain way than people in Mexico. Mexico gonna feel, and it's gonna just continue on and on and on. Everybody's going to have their own different views on stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like we should not be putting down other people. We shouldn't be trying to change people's opinions and perspectives and all that stuff, making it seem like, oh, Spanish national anthems or immigrants and all that. At the end of the day, everybody besides Native American people are immigrants. White people ain't from here. Black people ain't from here. Asian people, Hispanic people, only Native Americans can claim this land. So it be tripping me out where it's like you don't see them. You see them just in the cuts. You just see them minding their own business. They don't be saying nothing about nobody. And then it's Trump supporters where you would have thought like they signed their name on the lease of this country. And it's like, fam, you guys ain't got no ownership or my thing is this. You have more of a rights than a deer out in the middle of the woods here. So that's why I'm like, fam, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're going to like talk about this country, be respectful. Be respectful about the people in this country. Be respectful about, and that's the thing where it's like, and yeah, there's people that I know that are Trump supporters. I'm pretty sure there's probably both friends and family. Might be a little bit, well, there is a friend of mine's where it's like, nah, bro got a whole Trump 2020 flag. I think it was either 2020 or 2024. But that's the thing, though, where it's like I've said how I felt about politics. He said how he feels about politics. At the end of the day, we respect each other's political views. He don't try to change my mind. I don't try to change his mind. All we do is we just chill. So that's why it's one of those things where I'm all like, fam, it really trips me out. Where it's like there's people like that where they're respectful over it, and then you end up seeing where it's like, where it's like them Trump. It's just with them Trump supporters. I'm like, they gotta be extra annoying with whatever it is they talking on. So, but at the end of the day, if a Trump supporter want to be a Trump supporter, that's on you, bruh. Just all I ask for. It ain't even like, no, I'm asking for it. It needs to be something it needs to be done. Respect those around you, because the disrespect is unnecessary. It's not needed. So. But anyways, with that being said, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. Like, subscribe, viewing this on YouTube. Follow or subscribe, viewing this on the podcast streaming service. And peace.